About 15 years ago at a second-hand book sale, I bought all these books, a set of 8, for the price of a cheap bottle of wine. Now, a cheap bottle of wine maybe would have given me pleasure, I don't know, half an hour or so. But these books have been giving me pleasure for the last 15 years. Now, the books itself, it's quite old, was printed in the 1950s. And it's called the International University Society's course. And this particular book is the index. And the topics that it deals with, let me quickly try and read that. Where is it? The first topic subject is sociology, which, by the way, when I read this, it was actually my introduction to sociology, and then I started reading more about it, and in particular Emil Durkheim's book, who's now seen as the father of sociology. So that introduced me this particularly to sociology. But in any event, so the topics, they are sociology, science, life and health, psychology, philosophy, religion, women in the home, literature, public speaking, economics, practical business, the dawn of history, British and European history, Dominion and American history, politics and ethics. So it's quite a number of topics that it deals with. And what they do is every topic there's an introduction in this index. Now let me go to philosophy. Let me go to philosophy. Philosophy's introduction was given by a Professor Joad. Quite a very good introduction, quite a number of pages. And then at the end of this particular introduction, there are certain questions, and the questions itself then refers to the rest of these books where there are articles. So then you can go to those articles. Sometimes they give 2 or 3 per question, and you can sort of see what it's about. And they also give a reading list, a recommended reading list. But let me just get to the questions. The question for philosophy in this particular book, the first one is, why should we trouble to study philosophy? That's the first one. Second one, how does the study of philosophy affect the progress of humanity? Third one, what are the virtues of the philosopher? Can philosophy take all knowledge for its province? Does beauty exist apart from beautiful objects? And so on and so on. Quite a number of questions. Question 22, does God exist? Now, one would think that it's a type of question that should be under religion, but of course in religion, never ever is that question asked. Never ever. Religious people do not ask critical questions. Religion does not promote the idea of asking critical questions. It doesn't want you to ask or to be an independent thinker. You must just assume God exists and carry on. Now, the thing about philosophy is it promotes this idea that it is good for you to be knowledgeable, to try and get as much knowledge as you can, and also then to be a critical thinker, an independent thinker. That is basically in a nutshell what philosophy is about. Religion, on the other hand, is quite the opposite. Now, the thing about religion is it cannot thrive in a truly educated society, and therefore it doesn't promote its sort of citizens to strive to be educated, and it doesn't promote this idea of getting knowledge. It doesn't promote this idea of asking critical questions, and of course in religion, reason and logic, that is seen as the enemy of religion. Now, Martin Luther specifically called out reason. He called it that damned war that must be destroyed in all Christians. So that is the attitude in religion about reason. Now, these books, as I say, many topics, many questions, and then you can ask, then you can sort of look for the answers in these articles. But there's one article that caught my eye. It's written by the guy by the name of John Wesley. Now, he was the founder of certain churches in England called the Wesleyan churches and Methodist Episcopal churches. I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly, but this was now in the 1700s. And he wrote an article that is now in this book called The Poverty of Reason. The Poverty of Reason. Now, similar to Martin Luther, he is also arguing that reason is the enemy of religion. But when I read this article, it's a couple of pages long, about 4 or 5. When I read it, to be honest, it didn't make a lot of sense. Now, the problem for the author, of course, is when you attack reason, you can hardly use reason in your article. That would be sort of counterproductive. It will prove the opposite of what you want to prove. But actually reading this article and the gibberish in it, it actually does prove that you do need a reason, and if you don't have it, then there's poverty. The article itself, if I can just read maybe a paragraph, it says here at some stage, but in a point of so unspeakable importance, do not depend upon the word of another, but retire for a while from the busy world and make the experiment yourself. Try whether your reason will give you a clear, satisfactory evidence of the invisible world. After the prejudices of education are laid aside, produce your strong reasons for the existence of this. Set them all in array, silence all objections, and put all your doubts to flight. Alas, you cannot, with all your understanding. You may repress them for a season. But how quickly will they rally again and attack you with redoubled violence? And what can poor reason do for your deliverance? And it carries on. Now, as I say, if you read this article quite clearly, this founder of these churches, he can do with a bit of reason in his life. Then he would not need to write these gibberish type of articles. But that is now, at the end of the day, the situation. Philosophy promotes the idea that you must strive for more knowledge, and that you must try at least to use reason and logic in your thinking, and that is where independent thinking comes in. Critical thinking, independent thinking, very important, so that you don't listen to other people's opinions and so forth. You must now do your own research, make up your own mind, and reason is something. Luther and Wesley, he calls it basically the enemy of religion. Reason is not something that in philosophy you are given a recipe and say, this is what you must now learn to be a good, to reason, to have good reason. Reason comes with experience and practice. So if you read lots and lots of philosophers, that is how you practice to apply reason. And if, like in religion, reason is now seen as the enemy, obviously you're not going to get practice in reason. And here's the deal. For the individual, I believe that it's not a good thing to be ignorant and a non-thinker. For the individual, I believe it's much better to have knowledge and to be a thinker, to have the ability to do critical and independent thinking, and to use reason and logic in your arguments, to take an argument to its logical conclusion. That is what reason is about. To take an argument to its logical conclusion. Now, if reason is the enemy, I doubt if you would be able to do that.